Hey everybody, Rich from Rich TCG Bets here. Hopefully you're all having a wonderful day. We're going to dive pretty much straight into this, and we are going to be talking about the market value of all 9 sets released and fabled so far, talking about the lowest market value and working our way all the way up to the top. I think you guys can figure out what the top one is, but I promise like in the middle, there is a lot of surprise, I guess you could say. If you know the market really well, maybe not so much of a surprise, but I want to go over each set and why it ranks where it's at. So without further ado, if you like this kind of content, make sure to subscribe and let's get started. So at number 9, we have Ursula's Return with a total market value of $783.87 and the top card being $109.91, that Aerial Sonic Warrior that you see right there. To give a little bit of context, when I look at total value, I'm not looking at cold foil cards just because it gets kind of hard to pull the cold foil and the original. And because you're pulling the original more often than not, I figured we'd choose that over the cold foil. So know that the total value is probably a little bit more for each one of these sets. But for my sake of this analysis, we just looked at the regular cards, and non-cold foil, and then obviously like the enchanted foils as well. So yeah, so the top card, and we're going to see the top card in all these sets -1, and I think you can figure out what it is going to be an enchanted card. So like I said, we have Aerial Sonic Warrior here, which right out the gates was always an expensive card. I believe it was around $200 at first, but the biggest surprise here is that Diablo. That was somewhere between $150 to $200 as well too. But with rotations happening and it being leaked that it would not be included in Fabled, this card just has absolutely dropped like a rock. And so if you saw my last video about why I sold my enchanted cards, it's because they can fluctuate like that in an instant. And it's really hard to predict right now. And so this card is forever going to be a lower end card unless Diablo is brought back into the game, which in that case it will shoot up, and that is a possibility. But you also have Second Star to the Right, which I explained in the last video. That was like a $25 card, has shot up quite a bit because it was reprinted and fabled, and so you can use enchanteds from previous sets as long as they exist in the current rotation. And so you can see Diablo was $64.89, Second Star to the Right, $62.49. And Ursula's Return is at number 9. At number 8, this was honestly the biggest shock to me, Rise of the Floodborn, mainly because you know the first chapter in all its glory, super popular. Rise of the Floodborn was very popular as well too. And I don't want to say it was short printed, but it was definitely in demand. And it was a box that was always above MSRP. For a while, I think it was in the 200s, and then it dropped to like around 160, which is still above MSRP, not by much, but it's been out for a while and it's still above MSRP. And we are fairly confident we're not going to see reprints of this. And so we should expect those cards or those boxes to go up. But the fact that the total value is only 844 is kind of shocking. The top card is this Cinderella, which is one of the best enchanteds, I would say, in all of Lorcana, going for $223.10 market value. We have Alice at $133.84 and Snow White at $61.93. So compared to Ursula's, we do have 2 cards breaking that $100 mark. And honestly, one of the cards breaking the $200 mark. The Cinderella card is basically the same price as the top 3 from Ursula's, which is pretty funny. But one thing I do want to call out with Rise of the Floodborn and the first chapter, they only had 12 enchanteds. So this value is a lot lower because there's 6 less enchanteds. And so like if they were like $50 each, that's $300 less that Rise of the Floodborn gets because of that. And so this isn't really a true representation of Rise of the Floodborn, but the enchanteds are less desired because they weren't playable, and they were also just some art that people really weren't too interested in. So I won't waste your time going through that. You can take a look at the enchanted yourself, but they were from like Disney IPs that just weren't as popular. And so at the end of the day, they aren't as expensive as they are in other sets. So that's Rise of the Floodborn, number 8. At number 7, Into the Inklands. This is a set we hear is kind of like the worst set. Minus Azurite Sea. I think I hear a lot of that being the worst set. So I was actually surprised to see this not at number 9 because it was heavily overprinted to make up for what happened to the first chapter in Rise of the Floodborn. we never saw booster boxes go really above 100 for this set, and people were basically giving booster packs of this set away. The total value is a little over $1,000, so we have finally broken that $1,000 barrier at $1,033.78. And the top card is this Robin Hood, a very playable card. We've seen it fluctuate a lot. And then you have Along Came Zeus at over $100, $109.07. And Ursula is just about to the $100 at $93.34. Again, this was kind of plagued with it being overprinted and not too many desirable enchanteds. The Robin Hood was playable, but outside of that, you had Along Came Zeus, and the Ursula is pretty good, but you didn't really see too much playability or desire to collect specific enchanteds in this set. At number 6, we have Azurite Sea at $1,042.33. This is actually shot up quite a lot. I remember doing an analysis on this to make a video that I don't think I ever did, or maybe I did. It's been a while since I've made videos consistently, but this top card Tiana 131.69 was like a $50 card, $60 card, I think, when I pulled this several months ago. But because of rotations, with sets 1 through 4 being rotated out unless they were reprinted and fabled, you have only sets 5 through 9 that are playable in Lorcana. And so that has caused the meta game to shift, and which cards weren't good to maybe now be good. So we saw that with Second Star to the Right in Ursula's Return. And we are seeing that in Azurite Sea as well too. Tiana has shot up more than 100%. And even the legendary non-enchanted version of this card was like a $3 card, $4 card that's now a $30+ card. So talk about, if you kept on to those, you should look through your bulk pile and make a pretty penny off that. I definitely sold mine for $3, and so that hurts. I think I had a couple, so that extra hurts. But at number 2, you see Yzma, which again was a lower card that has shot up quite a bit at $76.85 now. And you came back the Lilo and Stitch card for $70.09. That was always a top card. I believe it was kept alternating between that and the Baymax. The Baymax is now number 5 actually, which is pretty crazy to think, because a lot of people say that is the best art of the Enchanteds. But overall, the Enchanteds have this kind of tannish scroll looking look, because it's the Azurite Sea. It's around like sailing on a ship, you know. It has those looks that just no one really liked. And so we haven't seen it again, luckily, but that's why this set value was super low. But again, you have that Tiana card. You also have Maui Half Shark. That is a very playable legendary that are very much boosting up this set. At number 5, we have Shimmering Skies, one of the best, and if you want to argue the best enchanted in Lorcana, I wouldn't disagree with you or fight you too much. But you have Mufasa sitting at $189.75. This has actually gone down quite a bit. It was like a $200 to $250 card for a while, but it has absolutely no playability for the most part. It's just an amazing looking card from an amazing IP, which is why it's been a very expensive card. Okay, I'm back. My slideshow had Second Star to the Right on the 3rd slot. I think just Canva was glitching because that's not in the set, but it has corrected itself. And so at the number 2 slot, we do have Clarabelle, a very playable card at $140. I believe the legendary non-enchanted or non-cold foil is like around $30 to $40 as well too. And then you have Finder's Keeper, which was a card that has absolutely shot up quite a bit in price as well, especially when the rotations were first announced. I want to say this card was pushing 150, which is pretty crazy. It's settled down to around 94, but still a pretty cool looking art from a amazing movie that I think is incredibly underrated in Aladdin. At number 4, with a market value of $1,744.17, is Arcasia's Island. Top card is this Tomato, which I talked about in the last video, how it's dropped significantly, but it's still a $264.36 card. To me, Arcasia's Island is where we start seeing the artwork of the Enchanteds absolutely shoot up, and absolutely just like as well as like looks go, and a lot of playable Enchanteds. And we see Trump there as number 2, sorry, Tramp, anyways, at number 2 for $139.55. The Dog's Enchanted is a very playable card. So it does really well, and that's why it's expensive. But that Aurora card is honestly one of my favorite enchanteds in all of Lorcana. I would say it's probably a top 10 of mine. I love the color blue. There's a lot of blues in it, and it's a really great looking card from a princess that I love Disneyland. Her castle is Disneyland, you know, and so I have a lot of connection with Aurora. Funny enough, super side tangent. My parents almost named my sister Aurora, and so I could have had a sister named Aurora, but they ended up choosing a different name. At number 3, we finally break that $2,000 barrier mark, which is pretty crazy just because there are so many Pokemon sets out there where if you were to collect every single card, you're not coming anywhere near $2,000. Obsidian Flames, if you're on the Pokemon side, even like Paldea Evolved, I think is barely around that. And so for something like Lorcana to be around this price is absolutely insane to me, which is in a good way. I absolutely love that. And hopefully more people get on the train and realize the artwork and amazingness of Lorcana. So we have Into the Unknown, Elsa. We're going to see like Elsa tax kind of be a thing, I think, forever. We saw it in the first chapter. Spoilers alert. It's going to be featured when we talk about the first chapter. But anything with Elsa is going to do well. I think the artwork's amazing. Again, the blues, I absolutely love it. It's a great card, $296.27. At number 2, we have Stitch, which I think, again, is going to get another sort of tax. I'm not the biggest Stitch fan, but like everyone loves Stitch outside of me. Like nothing against him. I'm just kind of like, he's just a thing to me. But $183.81. I do think this artwork is better than the other Stitch from the first chapter personally, but I don't think a lot of people agree with me with that. And at the number 3 spot, we have Rapunzel, one of my favorite movies. I absolutely love Tangled. So for $160.18, I think it's a great looking card. I love just the background and everything, the colors, everything looks great about this. But Reign of Jafar is, I mentioned Arcadius Islands where we kind of like start taking off as far as enchanteds go in cards. I think Reign of Jafar even took it to a whole new level past Arcadius Island, which is kind of crazy because I do love Arcadius Island. But yeah, you just look at these 3 cards. If you look at other cards from this set, you will see why I'm kind of obsessed with it. You have the Circle of Life, which is nowhere near the top 3 cards, but I think is an amazing artwork, and I definitely am a big Lion King stan. I absolutely love it, so there is 100% some bias from there. But that is Reign of Jafar at number 3. At number 2, we have the first chapter. So we have the Elsa card, the Charizard base set, if you're from the Pokemon world, you know, of Lorcana. Elsa's amazing. I think this artwork is incredibly well done. Wow. $804.07 is the value of this card. $2,433.45 is the value of the first chapter if you were to buy every card. And similar to Rise of the Floodborn, this set only has 12 enchanteds, which is absolutely crazy because if every enchanted is going for around $100, add 8 more, this total value is $3,200. And I can tell you for a fact that if there were 8 more dollars, it would probably be around $150 per. So it'd be like probably like a $3,400 total value for the set. At number 2, you have Tinkerbell, which is a very playable and popular card. Tinkerbell's popular. Of course, $239.90. And like I kind of hinted at, there is a Stitch card in this set. It does make the top 3 at $226.77. A great looking card. Like I said, I like the other one more. But all the enchantments from this first chapter are really well done. But at number 1, I just want you to focus. $2,433.45 is this total value. We've more than doubled it. At number 1, we have Fabled. And the reason we've doubled it is because we've introduced a new rarity called Iconics. You take a look at this Mickey and Minnie on the screen. $1,218 is what the Mickey is going for, and $820.79 is what the Minnie is going for. So just those 2 cards combined outvalue Ursula's Return, Rise of the Floodborn, Into the Inklands, Azurite Sea, and Shimmering Skies. And maybe Arcadius Island. I'd have to go back. Let me check really quick. Yeah, and Arcasius Island. They're amazing cards. I don't think any card should be like this expensive. I understand like why it is. It's an amazing art. It's the first time we've introduced or iconic cards. And it's freaking hard to pull. I think it's like one every like 4 to 6 booster box cases or something like that. Probably even way more than that. Enchanteds are normally one a case or one every 4 booster boxes. And so these are like 4 times harder to pull, 5 times harder. So I get it, but it still just blows my mind. At the number 3 spot, we do have Dumbo for $327.32. And if you're a big fan of the Goofy movie, we do have that movie featured in this set. We have Eye to Eye, which is an enchanted, a great looking card. I think, again, the artwork in this set, totally top notch and has blown like the previous earlier on sets out of the water, with the exception of the first chapter. That was just so iconic, right? But yeah, so here are the final numbers right here. You can see the total value. You can see the price per card. Looking at just Enchanteds, we can see that the first chapter is the highest, just looking at Enchanteds as far as price per card. Still not the highest in value. That still belongs to Fabled. But again, only 12 Enchanteds versus 18. So it's about $200 actually per Enchanted card in the first chapter. Again, you have the $800 Elsa carrying most of the weight. But crazy to see like Ursula's return. The average Enchanted price is $41, which is absolutely nuts how inexpensive that is. But it makes sense with undesirable cards, not great looking cards that are IPs in that set. And the last slide I have for you is what is the average price per card removing Enchanteds and Iconics? Fabled is still going to be number 1. Interesting enough, Azurite Sea jumps all the way from number 6 in total market price to number 2. That again is because the Enchanteds aren't great, but there are a ton of playable legendaries in that set. So it does shoot the value up. And then you have something like the first chapter to lower, and that's because it's been rotated out. And any reprinted cards, people prefer them from Fabled than the first chapter. But there you have it. Let me know what your favorite set is, how it compared to what you thought it was, and I'll see you on the next video.